All right, everyone, good morning. In order to get started, we will be going through our grounding statement. So I will be calling on folks that I see on my screen to help us with that. Maggie, could you get us started?
Vibrant Hawaii is a growing community that commits to individual and collective awamu kuleana to increase equitable opportunities to build wealth, an abundant reservoir of human, social, natural, and financial capital that we contribute to and draw upon.
Thank you. Ross?
Our kuleana is to convene conversations so that all va'a can travel toward a common goal, build community awareness, will, and action from the foundation of our shared values, shift deficit narratives, systems, and policy that perpetuate poverty and inequity, and implement strategies that are developed and resourced by the community and reflect Native intelligence. Did Ashley just freeze?
Yes.
You guys, I am so sorry. We are having so much trouble with county internet today. Sorry. Lauren.
We value equity and belonging, and we demonstrate this by being willing to let go of, wait, I can't see the word, our assumptions and biases about each other, speaking up when we recognize barriers that prevent us from participating, prospering, and reaching our full potential, promoting full family engagement and participation, and raising our own and our collective belief that wealth, abundance, and prosperity is not a pie. More for others does not mean less for us, ourselves.
Thank you. Thank you. Shelby?
Sorry. We value aloha and
Shelby, can you unmute and help us read the grounding statement? Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
We value aloha and we demonstrate this by acknowledging the aloha is unique to Hawaii. It is from this place. By valuing aloha, we value the vast and unique genius of the people of Hawaii, and we prioritize the knowledge, skills, and solutions of its people, recognizing that aloha is in action, modeled by us, by our environment, and we validate its aloha through aloha aina, and our willingness to suffer a little so that no one has to suffer at all.
Thank you. Heidi?
We value Aoamo Kuleana, and we demonstrate this by a commitment to empowerment rooted in our belief that everyone has skills and abilities but needs circumstances and opportunities to express them, promoting language that recognizes the person's abilities and shared ownership and accountability. If any one of us stumbles, we all fall because we are all connected.
Thank you. Diane?
We value flexibility and learning that leads to transformation, and we demonstrate this by being honest without shame when we don't know, being courageous, adaptive leaders, even when it calls for difficult conversations, and even when our outcomes look like failure, demonstrating ahunui and ha'aha'a as we hold tension to achieve change, and practicing makavalu and acknowledging that we each hold one piece that is a part of something bigger.
Awesome, thank you. All right, we have a number of new faces on this call, so I wanted to just take a moment to have everybody take our participant poll. Scroll down to review all of the questions. Let's see, launch. Are you folks able to see the poll or no?
Yes.
And please do me a favor, remember the role that you have selected for yourself, because after we're done with the poll, I want everybody to enter that information into the chat box. So remember what role you've selected that you think you can play in this work. All right, sharing results from today's poll. Wow, we have a number of key and supports on this call, as well as a number of leads and weavers with a few people with an interest in resilience hubs. A significant number of folks on today's call are engaged citizens or represent the education sector. We have, healthy showing from folks in business, philanthropy, government, social service, and faith sector. Everyone's represented. We have all areas of Hawaii Island on today's call. With a significant number from Hilo and Kona. We have one or a few individuals who identify a good portion of folks on today's call that identify as Kupuna. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you all. I see a lot of new faces on today's call, and so I just wanted to take an opportunity to welcome you to Vibrant Hawaii. This is a meeting hosted by the economy stream where our focus areas are resilience hubs and economic development strategies. We had an incredible opportunity with community partners, many who are on this call, who led work to initiate resilience hubs and resilience programs in their community in response to COVID-19. And we were able to leverage some of the CARES Act money. And we are very, very fortunate that there have been several coastal residents on this island that have recognized the importance of this work and would love for there to be another iteration of resilience hubs. And so we are really excited to be hosting today's meeting so we can talk about opportunities to reactivate, power back on our resilience hubs, and hopefully spark more hubs and programs in more communities. And so today we are going to be going through the application process with all of you. But really what we want to do with Hubs 2.0 is help to build up our community's capacity so that you are ready for anything. No matter what disaster comes your way or economic situation, you feel confident and courageous enough to mobilize folks in your community to take action and to lead and help your community through and to bounce forward. And so with that being said, I am going to share screens with all of you so we can go over the application packet together. This is going to be available after the meeting, and it includes links to important information that you will need in order to submit a completed proposal package. If you have any questions, please direct them to Janice or myself at resilienchubs@vibranthawaii.org. Applications are going to be open and available today. Please note that the deadline to submit is this Friday, January 15th at 4:30 p.m. If your application is late or it is incomplete, we are sorry, but it will not be considered. There are a few items that we want to go through with all of you. in order for you to complete a proposal package. Those elements include an application form, a budget spreadsheet, and a number of resilience questions. And in order to stretch resources, we are allocating maximum amounts of awards for hubs and programs. So if you are a hub that is supporting Keiki virtual learning and hosting connectivity, as well as food distribution, the max award or amount that you can apply for is $50,000. Instead of prepared meals or meal bags, the max award is $30,000. And folks that are looking to host resilience programming island-wide, the max amount is $25,000. If you are hosting a program for a specific region or district, the max award is $10,000. We are also asking that in order to further support the resilience of our local food systems, that hubs commit to hosting a community garden either at their hub space or at a space in close proximity to the hub site. So we will provide everybody with a copy of the application packet, and it does include links to all of the items that we are requesting that you complete as part of the package. This is the application form, and there are several sections that we highly encourage you to review before submitting. The first portion is about applicant information. If you have a fiscal sponsor or a sponsoring organization for your hub or project, we are asking for their name, mailing address, contact information, phone, email. These are the individuals. This individual is going to be authorized to enter into a memorandum of agreement with Vibrant Hawaii. Janice will review the details of that momentarily, but this person would be authorized to enter into that agreement for your hub or site. We also would like the information of the individual that will be leading the Resilience Hub program in your community. They will serve as liaison to Vibrant Hawaii. And so any information that we are providing you or the project lead's responsibility is to communicate this out to their team and community members. The next section of the application form is the project summary. So identifying your hub or program name, the districts that your hub or program anticipates serving, if there is a physical address of your hub or program, and the proposed schedule, days and hours of operation. We also are hoping to understand the reach of audiences in your community. So identifying the anticipated number of adults over 65, under 65, children between the ages of 5 to 17, and under 5 years old that are going to be served each week by your hub or program. We are also interested in understanding the type of programming and services that will be provided in your space, whether that be virtual learning and support, food distribution, economic development programming, or other. Please specify there. Be sure to select all that apply to your project. We also want to have a better understanding if your hub or space has the ability to host a community garden or has one. We will be partnering with the local organization to ensure that all hub sites and spaces are equipped with pollinator gardens and have access to teachers within their area to help folks have a better understanding of how to cultivate and successfully sustain a garden. We also want to know if there's a willingness to host 3D printer and that technology at your site and provide community and Keiki access to this information. Like I mentioned earlier, where we want to go with 2.0 is begin to weave in some of the economic development conversations that we had last year through our economic development substream. We hosted 7 panel conversations with the various sectors that are articulated here: creative and performing arts, health and wellness, technology and creative media, sustainable and community-driven tourism, resilient food systems, INA-based education. We want to know, what is your community excited and passionate about? What sort of assets do you have, partnerships that you can leverage to begin to identify a pilot project in one of these sectors to do within your resilience hub or resilience space? We're really interested in helping you to design that and offer it out into your community with the idea of upskilling your residents and hopefully providing them with more skill sets and pursuing passion so that they can either go off and create businesses or find jobs in emerging sectors. Also in this section, we are hoping to understand how many individuals you have on your team, and if you could describe the roles and responsibilities of those individuals and their capacity as well as ability to carry out your proposed project. We also know that folks have gone through a number of different trainings and certifications with Vibrant Hawaii, but also outside of this partnership. And so identifying all of the trainings and certifications your team members have that you feel would be incredibly useful to helping you carry out the work of your project. And if you are looking to grow your network or you feel good about the number of team members you have, let us know. There's a question here related to that if you are interested in having more folks join your team. This section deals with administrative capacity. And so we had asked earlier if your project or program has a fiscal sponsor, but you may have the ability to do this. We're trying to understand which teams have the ability to cut checks for payroll, pay vendors, purchase hub supplies, purchase restaurant prepared meals. We also need to understand how you will ensure that your hub or program will emit monthly data reports on a timely basis and ensure that the receipts and invoices are submitted on time for reimbursement. We're also curious if community partners have cash flow reserves of up to $5,000 to begin funding their initial work, and if your organization has liability insurance. All right, Jan, at this time, I'm going to turn it over to you. We are at the point in the application where folks are going to be asked to submit and upload their completed budget spreadsheet.
Should I do a share screen for this, Ash? Okay, we didn't rehearse, guys. Okay. All right, are you seeing my screen? Okay, you only see what's appropriate to see, right? Excuse the mess. All right. And so for those of you who are familiar with grant applications, this will look very familiar. It's a standard budget sheet. We've created it in Excel so that there are some automatic calculations. So you'll see here, if I click on the column labeled total, that formula, and all that means is you don't have to enter in and add the total. You could just put in here, I'm anticipating or secured funding source from Foundation A, and they've committed $5,000. And so you see the total will pop up. But let's say I'm anticipating from Foundation B, anticipating another $2,500. You see how the total will just automatically pop up, and then the total project income on the bottom, there's more formulas down here that will just automatically add everything for you. So that's all this is. If you want to put in some notes and further describe anything here, so let's say for Foundation B, I'm anticipating 2,000, but I won't hear until mid-March. You know, if you want to put anything like that, that's what that notes column is for. For the expense description, we've already pre-populated some line items for you to consider. You don't have to put in expenses for each one. You may not have a rent and utilities budget that you need to provide for. You can leave that blank. You can use the additional lines on the bottom to add in things that are not reflective of the options that we've pre-populated for you. Again, you don't have to worry about adding everything up because there are formulas in here. When you click on it, you'll see the formula pop up on the top there. Again, if you want to add in notes, what we've done is typically when you do apply for a grant, you will have to fill out a budget spreadsheet and you will also have to do a budget narrative. As a grant writer, I feel like that is duplicative and kind of a waste of my time. And so as Ashley and I were designing this, I said, let's just not have them write more and just put it in notes. That'll be enough. There is a line item on the bottom for the administrative expense, not to exceed 10% of your subtotal. So that's that note there. And then again, everything will add up. What you want to make sure is that your expenses will equal to your total project income. Are there any questions about the budget sheet? I also want to mention that as you're going through it, if questions arise, you can email us at any time. And Ashley will also iterate this again. We are going to be hosting open Zoom sessions on Wednesday, both in the morning and in the later afternoon, that you can hop on and ask questions as well. We really don't want you to feel intimidated by this process and want to support you as much as possible throughout the entire application process. But there was a question. Okay, thank you, Ash.
Thanks, Jen. So the application packet that I had screen shared with all of you earlier, there is a link to that budget spreadsheet that you can download and save onto your device. And when you are done with your budget, here in the app, have the ability to upload. All you need to do the file, and depending on where it is on your device, select the correct folder and then upload the document. Okay, next section of the form are the reference questions. Let me pull that up to share with all of you. Patience, I don't have the best internet connection here. Jan, I'm sorry to ask, do you mind pulling up the resilience questions in screen share? It's still loading on my end.
Yep. If you click there, it'll take you to our website where you can find that. What is your hub or team able to contribute to the network of resilience hubs? There's a character max of 1,500 characters. If you're unsure and you've never had to find a character max before, all you do is you highlight the section. So let's say this entire paragraph here was my response to that question, and I want to know how many characters there are. You highlight it, you go up to tools, and you can go over to word count. Click on there and it'll tell you. So that 4 sentences that I highlighted right there is 815 characters. So that's how you'll know how to find your character max. All right. What is your hub or team able to contribute to the network of resilience hubs? So you can think broadly, again, using the grounding statement as a baseline. The context of it's beyond just your direct service to your community. It's thinking about this network that we're building across communities and what is the potential of being able to contribute to that broader network. Describe how your hub or program will shift deficit narratives and create opportunities to build an abundant reservoir of human, social, natural, and financial capital. When we talk about human capital, we're talking about knowledge, skills that people possess. How will your hub or program contribute to increased opportunities for people to express and be able to contribute their knowledge and skills within the community? How will it build social capital, the relationships and trust that we have amongst each other within our communities and across communities? How will your hub or program help to build that? How will we help to build natural capital? When we think about our kinship with our Aina and our relationship with our Aina, how will your hub help to contribute towards that? And financial capital. How will your hub or program help to build resilience and increase the financial resources that folks have, whether it's being a liaison and connecting them to different programs and services throughout the community, whether it's helping to distribute materials that are widely available that folks may not readily have access to. What are those opportunities that you're thinking your hub or program will be able to contribute? Then third question, how will your hub or program remove barriers to access and promote opportunities for full family community engagement to contribute skills and abilities, as well as help residents reach their full potential? What is your role that you're seeing in that, and how will you be able to help folks engage and contribute in a meaningful way to bringing about resilience in their community? Describe how you and your team will commit to learning, flexibility, courage, and growth, and recognizing that every action and experience is critical to building community resilience and moving the island closer to a vibrant Hawaii. So again, it's getting into that team piece and thinking about the cohort experience and how might you be able to ensure full participation in that. So again, what we used to talk about in our first iteration under CARES is when we send out these invitations, that it's not up to only the captain to participate in everything. There's opportunities to engage the rest of your team. There's opportunities to engage the parents who are coming to your hub. There's opportunities to engage the people who are coming to receive food in these different professional capacity building opportunities. So think about that. How will you be contributing and engaging in that? Did I get that piece right, Ash? Is there anything you want to add to that?
No, that was perfect, Jan. Thank
Okay, you want to take it away from here and I can be your Vanna and help scroll through?
Yeah, we can tag team on this one.
Okay.
The next section is our SEDS programming. We're really passionate about moving the needle when it comes to food resilience and community resilience. And so we thought one great way to do this is through a community garden initiative that spans our Resilience Hub network. So nearly every one of our hubs participated in some kind of food distribution program, whether it was sourcing meals from local restaurants, sourcing produce and a beef from local food producers. We saw the need in our community to ensure that folks had food on the table so they weren't growing hungry. Wanting to lean into that a bit more, providing community opportunity to contribute, so that when they are coming to pick up a meal bag or restaurant prepared meal from the local hub, engaging their ohana to make a commitment to put in some sweat equity at the community garden so that they're learning an additional skill set, but they're also having an appreciation for what it takes to grow food, And these ingredients could then be provided to our local restaurant partners who are cooking for the food, cooking food for the hubs, and also be integrated into the produce bags that, if you choose to distribute. So just wanting to find ways to deepen our efforts to be more resilient and sustainable together. So one of these questions is around, identifying an appropriate site to host a garden. And what that schedule and plan would be to engage community members. We have a partner that will be providing all of these materials for you. So it's not something that you necessarily would have to include in your budget. Another aspect of the SEDS programming is mentioned earlier, we hosted a number of conversations that pulled in experts on this island and across the state to talk about sectors that our Vibrant Hawaii community identified as critical and important and in alignment with our shared values and as keys to diversifying our local economy. And so each hub is very unique. We know that you have various assets that you'd like to leverage. So we want you to take a moment to review, it's linked here on the SEDS programming section, a bit of information on our Vibrant Hawaii website about one of these sectors. We have summaries, we have videos, but the idea is, can you identify a project in your community along the lines of one of these sectors and articulate some sort of pilot that you would want to do that has a nexus to economic development. If you have any questions about this, we can talk about it during today's meeting. But if you have ideas and you want to float them by Janet and I on Wednesday, we're happy to help kind of think through those so that you have a project proposal that you can include in this package. We are really excited about the ability to bolster our community leadership across the island. And so one aspect of Hubs 2.0 will for all grants awardees to be part of a leadership cohort. And again, this goes back to the idea of having people and communities that are ready for anything. So we've designed a leadership development program that will take place over the next 4 months of this phase of the project. And we're asking that you identify folks within your team or within your community that would be interested in attending one of these workshops and having a commitment to applying this learning and then meeting back with peers within their cohort to talk about their experience in that application. One requirement is to provide a reflection at the end of the month after these workshops, after you've applied the learning, so that we can see how you're applying that information and strengthening your community. So these workshops will be hosted once a month. They will take place on second Thursdays in February, March, April, and May. Between 9 to 12, we're anticipating about 2 to 3 hours for this work. We will be dividing cohort participants up into learning pods, and you folks can plan on meeting later in the month at your convenience, facilitating the meeting, taking notes, documenting the conversation, but talking about how you applied the learning in the various workshops. We really feel that these are things that our partners in the CARES Resilience Hub portion of the project had identified as things that they were interested in learning more about and that they felt would be critical in helping them to do their community's work. So February, we would have presentations and learning around photography and marketing. March, communication internally and externally. April, volunteer management and recognition. And May, disaster preparedness and response, because one key component of resilience hubs is being ready for anything, right? If a disaster strikes, we want to make sure that you and your teams are able to mobilize and respond and get to folks that are in need. We do have a couple of other bonus workshops that we'll be offering between Q1 and 2 of this year related to grant writing as well as administration and nonprofit application. In the application packet, we do have a link to the full leadership cohort schedule, as well as various pieces of content that we will be going over in each of these workshops. So questions in this area, do you have folks on your team that would appreciate participating in this leadership cohort in order to build a more resilient community. If you would like to name those individuals, that would be great, but we're going to leave it to you to identify folks that you feel would be the right fit for each of these offerings. You can send one person to all of these workshops. You can send multiple. You can send different people to each of the workshops. We just want to make sure that there is participation by your community. And because there is going to be peer learning throughout this cohort program, we want to make sure that we are properly identifying and elevating your skill sets, your abilities, your talents that you possess, that your team possesses, so that during any of these workshops, we are able to elevate your stories and you can share your experiences with community. The last set of questions in the resilience question document are related to community need. We want to know, based on your proposed project, your hub or your programming, you're obviously designing that based on some kind of gap or need in your community, audience that needs to be served. We want you to describe that here. We also want you to identify the benefits and the values that are going to be delivered through your programming and how your community will be strengthened. And finally, letting us know how you will be leveraging existing programs and new resources to connect audiences in need with those resources. So SNAP benefits, rent and mortgage assistance. I anticipate with more federal money coming, there will be more suites of programs available to community. We will be providing you that information. It's going to be up to you to make sure that your community has access to that information. Jan, anything else to add?
I just want to again encourage folks. For many of you, this might be the first time you're submitting a proposal. Do not be daunted or intimidated by the character max. Do not feel like you need to type up to 1,500 characters. This is not a college entry essay that we're asking you to do. We're not English teachers from your high school who's going to be grading you on punctuation and things like that. If you feel that the best way for you to communicate your idea is through bullet points and a bullet point list, feel free to put that down. We're looking for what is the idea and the communication of that idea, not how fancy you can be with your grammar and what big words. You don't have to be like looking in the thesaurus for the most fanciest way to say what you're trying to say. Just get it down. If you are really feeling like I struggle to the max with writing, a couple of ideas. Reach out to other people in your network or your community to see if they can help. To say, can I share with you my idea? Can you help me put it down in some words? The other thing you might want to try if you don't have the time to do that is if you feel like you communicate better orally, record yourself. Use your phone, record yourself, go back and listen to it, pick up the key ideas that you recorded, and then type those in. Do not be daunted by the aspect of having to write it. I really do not want that to be a barrier to your community participating. And again, if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out and connect with us.
Thanks, Jan. So in the application packet, you'll have a link to be able to download this document, enter the responses to the various questions, and then we'll go back to our trusty Google form to upload your responses, similar to how you've done with the budget. Let me see, I think there's just a couple. Oh my God, I got cut off again. I hate the county.
We're recording. So what Ashley means is she's very frustrated with the bandwidth on the internet.
I can't see anyone.
Do you need me to share something?
I can see nothing right now, Jan. I don't know if I should end the meeting.
Where we can
hear you.
Yes, I know you can. I can hear everybody. I just can't see anyone or the share screen. Sorry.
Okay, I stopped sharing screen, so we're back in gallery view, but what, I can share the next piece.
Yes, I think there's one more. There is the final section of the application form, the agreement and the signature.
Okay, were we also going to share the scoring and walk through the scoring sheet? I think that's an important piece.
Yes, and then the onboarding.
Okay, so let me pull up the scoring sheet so folks have that, and that will be available in their packet as well, right?
Yes, it is. It's all in the packet.
Okay, let me go back and find that. Here we go. Okay, so keeping in mind the questions that we just ran through for the narrative portion, the written portion, this is the rubric, the scoring that will be applied. So again, we are engaging the Vibrant Hawaii Board of Directors, as well as inviting the executive director of our fiscal sponsor, Hawaii Rise Foundation, to review all of the proposals over the weekend and to go through scoring using this rubric. So it'll be 100 points maximum applied. The first 20 points is they will be looking at the alignment to the Vibrant Hawaii grounding statement and using these measures. So articulate community-driven strategies to shift deficit narratives and create opportunities to build an abundant reservoir of human, social, natural, and financial capital. How is your hub going to be giving opportunities in the community for people to express their skills and abilities, for people to contribute and to be able to build relationships within your community and across communities? Identifying ways to enhance our kinship and our relationship with our aina and building financial capital. How are you articulating, how are you communicating that? Remove barriers to access and promote opportunities for full family and community engagement to contribute skills. What are the opportunities that you're thinking of doing that? Demonstrates an understanding of the preciousness of aina, community's connection to the place and each other, and the need to live consciously, sacrificing where it makes sense so the collective and future generations may prosper. How is that being articulated? And the, what demonstration of that might we expect from your hub or your program? Demonstrates a willingness and commitment to learning, flexibility, courage, and growth, recognizing that every action and experience is critical to building community resilience and moving the island closer to a vibrant Hawaii. The next section will be allocated 20 points, a realistic, thorough, accurate, and resourceful budget, clearly defined roles and responsibilities of team members, demonstrated experience, including appropriate team and partners to carry out the proposed project, fiscal and administrative controls to properly manage funds, set and achieve goals, and track and report progress, and leveraging various forms of capital and other funding streams to build resilience project to life. That will be 20 points there. The next section, 20 points, alignment and capacity to further SEDS, commitment to hosting a community garden and team to plan and manage and sustain the effort, identifying an area sector of focus and providing details around assets and partnerships to leverage in order to achieve the chosen SEDS initiative. Remember, there were 6. So that's what we're talking about. The ability to commit to the cohort, 20 points. Willingness to elevate project team and community members to participate in leadership cohort programming in an effort to build a more resilient community, and the desire to contribute skills, abilities, talents during peer learning in a meaningful way. And the final section will be allocated 20 points in community need, clearly explains the need for a resilience hub or program offerings and the audience that will be served, makes a strong case for the benefits and values to be delivered and how the community will be strengthened, and the ability to leverage existing and new resources and connect opportunities to appropriate audiences, for example, SNAP benefits, rent and mortgage assistance, and other available community resources. So that will be the matrix that folks, the reviewing team will be using. What was the next thing you want me to pull up, Ash?
I think we need to go over the onboarding
Onboarding.
schedule, some of the mandatory trainings we have for folks. There are a number of folks that kind of joined us mid-meeting. And so earlier I had announced that if you were forwarded an invitation to today's Zoom meeting, if you could do me a favor and either send me a direct message or pop into the chat for everyone to see your name, the organization you're with, and your contact information so that we can be sure you have access to the application packet and the appropriate links. Thank you.
All right. Do you want me to walk through this or did you want me to, Vanna?
No,
Did you
you're
wanna
good,
do
Jen.
this?
Go ahead.
Okay. Again, in reflecting from some lessons learned in our first iteration of Resilience Hub, we identified several things that would be really beneficial for the cohort to have under their belt to step into the project a lot more prepared. And so this has been designed with that in mind. One, to be sure that when the hub opens up on February 1st, that some really key and critical skills have been provided. And second, it's really building that foundation. So as we move into the leadership cohort experience, some of those things are already in place. So it is an entire week, Monday through Friday, and this is the detailed schedule for that. On Monday, January 5th, we will run from 8 a.m. to noon, and that will really be an introduction to each other and setting that foundation for future conversations. So we'll be looking at why, what's your personal why in this work? And from there, start to identify opportunities and what you're bringing and identify opportunities for that cross-community collaboration. We will also be weaving in one of the tools that we invested in through the CARES grant on our community resilience side, which is a resilience toolkit, and walking folks through the first tool, which is a mindfulness exercise. So that's our first day. On Tuesday, we will work on establishing our agreements. We will run from 8 a.m. to 2 o'clock, talking about teams and team building, working through our cohort agreements in alignment to our grounding statement, looking deeply at what we will contribute individually and collectively to the cohort experience. And in the afternoon, going through some nuts and bolts things to be sure everyone has clarity around the tools that we will be using throughout the project, which includes a Google Drive, Google Forms, our fiscal procedures, and reporting and performance metrics. So we'll be spending time on that, going through it at a pace where everyone is able to move forward together. On Wednesday, we are providing everyone, and this is again also open to others in your community, the opportunity to become certified in mental health first aid. And so that is an all-day training. It is an 8-hour training. It's typically $175 to receive this training, and we will be covering the cost for folks to participate in that. So mental health first aid certification. The first round, we provided everyone an opportunity for CPR and first aid certification. And in this round, we are building upon that and moving into mental health first aid certification. Thursday, we will be tackling all things food. And so this day will run from 8 to 2:30. We will be walking through tools and tips for engaging and coordinating restaurant prepared meals. So in this iteration of hubs, we will not be working through the coordination of Chef Hui. We are turning that kuleana over directly to hubs. And so walking you through how to, some of the things, lessons learned, and how to establish really smooth working relationships. And then after our morning break, we will come back, have everyone participate in training for SNAP, walking through that application and how to help people fill out the application, looking at some frequently asked questions, misnomers and myths around SNAP that prevent people from applying, and going through that in detail. We're also reaching out to the food basket to look at what's the process in establishing an emergency food pantry in your community in partnership with the food basket. So we are very cognizant that we have a limited amount of funding right now to be handing out food. It's not going to be like the first round. What we want to do is build upon what are some of the other existing resources within our community. So one of the things that we know is that Congress has passed and what we can anticipate for our state is $250 million in SNAP coming to our state of Hawaii. That not only benefits people who are food insecure, it also benefits our local grocery stores. It also benefits our farmers and our farmers markets. It is a way to support economy. And so we want to be sure that everyone who does qualify has that opportunity. We also know that an additional way that communities can support food insecurity is not only by handing out restaurant prepared meals, but also by hosting an emergency food pantry in partnership with the food basket. And we'd like to explore that. In the afternoon, we would like to have some time for our partner in the Honeybee program to share a little bit with hubs on how they might be able to come in and support through workshops and the type of workshops that they offer. It's not only about beekeeping. There is an entire spectrum of workshops that they offer through their community partners, and then spend some time looking and talking deeply around community garden offerings and support. So again, as you're going through the application process, keep in mind that we're looking for your willingness and your idea, not necessarily that you will have all of the answers. We will come alongside of you if you are selected to be a part of this round to be providing that kind of support for that. Friday is 8 to 2 p.m. We will be diving into trauma-informed care, adverse childhood experiences, that's ACEs, and benevolent childhood experience, the BCEs. And from there, weave in some information around and reflecting as a group around the role of resilience hubs, what we've learned through mental health first aid, what we've learned through trauma-informed care, what we've learned through the importance of benevolent experiences, and then having some discussion and direction around mandated reporting and what that might look like. A quick review of what we can anticipate in the cohort journey, and that will bring us to a close for our week of onboarding. Back to you, Ash.
Thanks, Jen. I think we're almost there. So applications will be live after this meeting. They'll be due back this Friday by 4:30 p.m. We'll have members of the board reviewing scoring application, taking the average so that you have a final score. And we will be alerting all applicants no later than next week, Wednesday, January 20th. But we wanted to make sure that the offerings that we're providing during onboarding week and the commitment to the leadership cohort, that those dates were provided to you well in advance so that you can make the determination if this is something that you can be committing to. Before I open it up to questions, I did want to invite Shelby Lynn Hano Fleming. She's Recreation Director at Kawananakoa Gym in Keaukaha. She was our Resilience Hub captain in Keaukaha. But she had a shoestring budget, but was able to make a lot of really fun and interesting programming happen for the keiki that attended her hub. So just wanted to provide her some time and space to share that information because I know we have a lot of folks here that are interested in providing Keiki Hub opportunities. And so Shelby, take it away. How do you be resourceful and keep Keiki engaged and learning?
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, alrighty. So we had about 16 kids here. That's all we were allowed for the county of Hawaii. But within the 16 children that we had participating, we had about 6 different schools. So they were all on different schedules. In the morning, they were pretty much all doing the same thing. They had their online distance learning. Some of them didn't start at the same time. So we kept them busy with different types of arts and crafts because we had a shoestring budget. We didn't have much to really go off of. So whenever we did one craft, we made sure that the materials that we used for that one craft we were able to use for another. So because we were in the holiday months, we could do things in October for Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. And we were able to just kind of spread it amongst the 3 months that we were running. We also are fortunate enough to have a very large facility. So we had the privilege of turning our gymnasium into a classroom, because for county right now, we're not allowed to open it for physical activities or anything like that. So when the hub came, we turned it into a classroom, and whenever the children were here on Zoom or doing their distance learning, they were able to go into the county room. They could go outside and play on the field or on the playground. We were even able to get bicycles and they could ride around in the parking lot. But other than that, we did a lot of enrichment with them. Wish we could have done gardening, but that's something that I don't know if we're going to be able to have an option for this time around. But yeah, we also partnered with Donna Matthews and Lacey Lyons, who came in on Wednesdays to teach the kids yoga as well. So just try to be mindful when you're purchasing or if you're able to get any type of materials, and plan ahead to see what you can use certain materials for later in your program. I think that's it.
Thank you, Shal. Appreciate you joining us and also sharing your experience. Jan, I think the last thing to do with folks before we open it up to Q&A is to review our draft MOA together. There have been some changes to reporting and sort of our fiscal procedures, so we want to make sure that there is clarity and understanding by everyone involved around that.
Thanks, Ash. Sorry, give me a second to find it. Okay, again, I'm just going to run through this word for word. Might be frustrating for some people. I'm one of those folks that's like, seriously, I can read. I know how to read. You don't have to read to me, but I'm going to do it just so we can be sure we're all moving together. I also know that there's some people that skim. You skim and you don't really read, so we're just going to take time to do it together. All right, this document establishes an agreement between Vibrant Hawaii and the organization to host and coordinate a resilience hub or program in this location between January 25th, which is the first day of the onboarding, and May 31st, which will be our final debrief and coming together meeting. It will be on Monday. All right, and its partners operating the hub, and they shall undertake all tasks competently and professionally with the highest degree of care. You will, for those of you who read the MOA and had one the first time, pretty much the same opening sentence. The only thing that has changed are the dates of operation. Okay, the second is our purpose. Emphasis for Hubs 2.0 will be on helping our communities bounce forward via economic development initiatives and empowering residents with tools and resources to build resilience. This is different from the first round. The first one was about response to COVID-19 in alignment with the RFP that came out from the county. This is a little bit different. So think about that when you are submitting your application. This is the emphasis here, bouncing forward via economic development initiatives and empowering residents to build resilience. We are going to include the hours and days of operations per your application. A question that you might have right now is sometimes you submit a proposal and when you are awarded, your award is not the entire amount that you needed and you submitted in your proposal. Is there going to be an opportunity to adjust based on what your actual award is? Yes. And so if the award comes in and it's different from what you needed, let's say you were going to do 5 days a week, 6 hours a day, and help 500 people. And then when you get your award, you're like, whoa, we can't do that with this budget. There will be an opportunity to revise, and then that revised number would be reflected in the MOA. Okay. The total team and capacity, again, this will be from the application and or revised application based on your final award. This is the piece that I want to spend a little bit of time on. This is new. The organization is awarded a contract up to whatever the amount is that that is determined to be awarded for the purposes laid out in the attached proposal. The organization will be provided an upfront payment totaling 100% of month 1 and 2 expenses. The second payment for months 3 and 4 of your operations will be calculated using a performance-based formula provided in the monthly reports for February and March. For example, if the hub meets 80% of the performance, the second payment to cover months 3 and 4 will be reduced by 20%. So what are some of those things that will be included? We're going to be looking at the number of folks you said you were going to serve and the number of folks you actually served. So if you initially budgeted to serve 100 people 3 times a week, but your reports are showing that you are serving in your sign-in sheets and the meal trackers, you're actually serving 50 people 3 times a week. That difference is going to be calculated as a performance measure. And so the amount that goes out for months 3 and 4 will be adjusted. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and contact us. The second payment will not be made until receipts for the initial payment have been received in full. So in addition to submitting the monthly report on time so that we can make the calculation, we will also need to have all of the receipts accounted for the initial payment before any payment is made for months 3 and 4. The organization is responsible to upload copies of receipts to their designated Google Drive. Again, we will have training in depth on how to do this during our onboarding week. The organization is required to complete and submit monthly impact reports. Failure to complete reports could result in termination of your participation in the initiative. The organization shall appoint a hub captain to oversee hub team and operations, ensure strict adherence to public health and safety guidelines as it relates to social distancing, mandatory mask usage, and thorough sanitation of Resilience Hub space, serve as a liaison between the community and Vibrant Hawaii, serve as a point of contact with area restaurants and or food vendors to ensure transportation and distribution of food, ensure a representative of hub team participates in the week of onboarding, which we already went through, attend monthly cohort trainings, which we've already gone through. In addition to the cohort trainings above, cohort groups will also schedule time between trainings to meet and review discussion questions, which Ashley went through. Vibrant Hawaii reserves the right to schedule additional meetings with all organizations, part of the network, or meetings with individual organizations should the need arise. The agreement shall take effect upon execution. The agreement shall remain in effect through May 31st. The agreement may only be modified with written consent of Vibrant Hawaii and the organization. I've read this MOA before signing, and I fully understand the contents, meaning, and impact of this agreement. I understand that I'm free to address any specific questions regarding this agreement by submitting those questions in writing prior to signing, and I agree that my failure to do so will be interpreted as free and knowledgeable acceptance of the terms of this agreement. And that is the MOA. This will also be included as a reference in the entire application packet. So you can go through, think about it, any questions, reach out to us.
That's great, Jen. Thank you. At this time, we're going to open it up to questions from the group. Wow, I'm impressed. Everything made sense. Awesome. All right, let me go through the chat because I believe that there were a few questions that I'm not sure Jan and I were able to address yet. Could we apply for multi-sections food distribution and programming? The application packet articulates max awards based on what your hub is looking to do. And so Mahea, I think you're looking to do food distribution and stuff for Keiki. So that maximum award would be $50,000, but it's spelled out in the application what you deliver and how much funding is potentially available to your proposed project. Jan, did we want to talk a little bit about, if folks don't have a fiscal sponsor? And this is why we are working with Hawaii Rise Foundation in order to be able to help support them in that, financial capacity. Do you want to expand upon that a little?
Sure. What we're trying to gauge through the application process, you are not disqualified if you don't have a fiscal sponsor or if you are not a nonprofit organization. What we want to know is what we might anticipate Hawaii Rise needing to carry. So if you're not, it doesn't subtract any points from you. As you will see in the scoring matrix, there was no points allocated to whether you were a nonprofit or had a fiscal sponsor. We just need to have some clarity as we're preparing for this project in what capacity needs to be in place on the side of Hawaii Rise as our fiscal sponsor.
So is there a fee for working with Hawaii Rise?
No, there will be no fee from community groups. So if you're talking about the administrative expense up to 10%, you do not need to include anything there if your group does not have a fiscal sponsor or a sponsoring organization.
Thank you.
There was a part 2 to Mahelani's question. Could a nonprofit be a fiscal sponsor for more than one program? I think if you mean for more than one community-based resilience hub, sure. Which means that, for example, I'm just going to use Hamakua Youth. If Hamakua Youth wanted to umbrella the paying for resilience hub staff, paying for the restaurant prepared meals, purchasing the supplies for more than one community-based hub, yeah, that's fine.
There are some questions that have come in about the application form, the MOA being just for hub providers. It is both for hub sites as well as programs. The MOA will be adjusted for programs, so we're sure that it's appropriate for what you're going to be providing community. But we did want to provide you at least a foundation for what the agreement would look like.
Hey, Ashley and Janice, it's Ronit. I'm wondering if I could just make a comment. I don't know if this is quite the forum for it, but you're talking about nonprofits. And I just wanted to say that, whether the nonprofit formally applies, there's always informal partnerships that can be done. So I work for a program called Parents Inc. Our main office is in Hilo. And I supervise the Ka'u office. A lot of our grant is with families who are dealing with the child welfare system, but we do also work with the community at large, and working with the Ka'u community is a big part of our grant. So we have very informally partnered with the Na'alehu Hub, and would like to offer support to the Pahala Hub. And it can be, you were talking about activities for Keiki. It can be as simple as just, coming over and bringing an activity. It could be an activity that we do. I think one thing that, so for instance, through the resilience toolkit, I've been able to connect with the very amazing Miss Maggie, who has been part of the Halekihi Hub. And you know, what's nice is that they've had some resources that, you know, she's even, you know, she's reached out to me to see if we could benefit from some of their resources for families. We're looking at 2 families reunifying. They desperately need clothes for their children. The Hale Ki'i Hub has a surplus of clothes. And so it's turning into a very symbiotic relationship. And I just want to stress one of the things I heard first, I guess from Maggie, but I think other people share this philosophy that we do not stay in silos. You know, when you're creating these hubs, you don't just do it on your own. And we're all here, the whole different parts of the community are here to assist and help each other and create a really strong district and strong community. You know, just like your grounding statement says, no one can do this on their own. And I really hope if, you know, if you're having your little powwows, that you think about including other members of the community who might have an answer to your question or could learn something from you. So I just wanted to share that.
Thanks, Ernit. We appreciate your manao. Lauren, thanks for the follow-up question about open house Q&A. I dropped the details for the date and times in the chat. Q&A will be hosted this Wednesday, January 13th from 9 to 10 a.m. as well as 4 to 5 p.m. Same details to log into this meeting will be used for Wednesday.
Okay, I guess my question was, I thought you had mentioned something about today, if we had questions today. Is that not correct?
You can send Janice and I an email through the Resilience Hub's email, and we can connect with you. But we are offering just open house Q&A time on Wednesday, once
Yes.
folks have had a chance to review the application and also to kind of put some ideas to paper.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, Ash, I had a question real quick. Is that okay?
Yes.
First of all, thank you folks for, I mean, it's very, very clear what is expected. So thank you so much for all the work that you folks have done. One of the things I wanted to bring up is that it's very important to have what we've found with Halaki'i and the ability to leverage volunteers throughout the community. If we could maybe come up with a way that, I don't know if Hawaii Rise wants to be responsible for that, but it does take a nonprofit at the helm at this point to be able to utilize all hours from like civil cases. I have been able to utilize some of the criminal cases prior to Keiki even being around or whatnot, right? Just with my surety license or whatnot. But in order to have that be a way for folks to leverage their time and what their responsibilities are to the community within the hubs, I think it's important to either place a nonprofit there or to somehow within this open legislation of changing some policies that hubs could be moved into that space of being allowed to leverage volunteer hours with whosoever may. That's just something that I think is really important to make sure that we capture that somewhere. Thanks.
Okay, yeah, that's a great point. And I know that it's important for all of us to be logging volunteer hours because oftentimes the county can be using those sweat equity hours as our in-kind sort of portion for federal funding. So thanks for bringing that up. We'll make sure to figure out a process for tracking all of that. Thank you.
So just in case that went above anyone's awareness, what Ashley mentioned is that there's a portion in the budget spreadsheet that allows you to include in-kind hours. So what that means is you think about how many folks you anticipate that are going to be volunteering, how many hours throughout the course of the 4 months you anticipate them volunteering. You can Google online the hourly rate allocated to volunteers in the state of Hawaii. I don't know off the top of my head what that is right now. I'm going to guess maybe like, I don't know, $15 to $17 an hour. And then you use that, do that calculation, and then include that in kind, whether it's committed, like guarantees it's going to happen, you would put it in the committed column, or it's anticipated, like you're going to be recruiting for it and you think there's a good chance you will have that there. include that in your budget.
Thanks, Jan. There was a question from Heidi about application for providers. Her particular program, Ke Kula o Aloha Aina, that was delivered at Haliki'i Hub. I would say in this situation, if program providers are just going to be providing programs at one particular location, to talk story with that hub to see how your program can be weaved into their budget. If there is a desire and ability and capacity to go beyond a hub and serve multiple hubs in a district or a region, that's when I would consider, that's when you should consider submitting an application for your program separate from a hub. I hope that makes sense. Heidi, is that clear? Okay, any other questions?
Can we do a really quick, I just want to get a temperature of where folks are at in the chat. Could you just, I just want to know our presentation, everything that has been provided so far, how comfortable you're feeling in this application process. So a 1 would be like, you just scared the hell out of me. I don't know if I can do this. A 5 would be like, I am ready to go. So could you just pop in, because that will tell us how we need to adapt to help get folks more on the comfortable side. We really do not want the application process to be a barrier to getting, to building resilience in our community. It's a step. It should not be a barrier. So thank you.
Look at all these 5s rolling.
Yay. Ashley and I have been working all weekend.
Oh, and thanks for your honesty, you guys. I see some 3s and 4s rolling in. We really appreciate your honesty. We know that we're asking a lot of our community, but we really see this project, all components of it, as an investment in you, so that you can invest in helping our communities.
More time would have been appreciated. Yeah. Yes. We are so trying to balance between, we just got word about the investment to move forward last week, was solidified. Looking at hubs have been not active since the end of December. How long do we prolong before we get assistance back to our community, and just really trying to balance the two, and definitely appreciate that the turnaround is tight.
And I know there's some comments in the chat about the onboarding portion, leadership cohort. We are taking all of that into consideration. So please be honest about your availability to be on that. I know that, we record all of our meetings, so we would have this content available for you to watch when you do have some time.
Can you hear me, Ash?
Yes.
While everything's rolling in, I just wanted to sort of make an announcement about Haliki'i, right? So first round was amazing. We had Friends of the Children in place. We still have a willingness. I believe Davian is on the call, and Priscilla. They're the owners of the physical location. We are looking for building a new team. Friends of the Children, they were bolstered. They're going to be rebranding, moving locations. So we're sort of open as to what direction we'd like to head with Haliki'i here. Heidi's program is in the location. There are a couple ways that we could operate that location, but we can run some questions by you after. But I wanted to put that out there just in case anyone else is in Kona and they are a team, but they don't have a location. I'd be more than happy to help plug people in for Haliki'i. And I know there are some other, I know Johnny Moore is on the call. He might be ready to go, Oasis Church. And so Kona should have a lot more available, but Haliki'i will serve as sort of a liaison or whatever we need to be in this phase. So if anyone has ideas, we are open for reimagining Haliki'i all around for this phase.
Awesome. Thanks, Maggie. Thanks for putting it out to the network. Couple other questions. I'm just going through chat stuff. There's questions about funding for food. Should you be awarded a grant, we would be providing you information, all the tools that you need to engage restaurant partners. There are a lot of lessons that we learned in the first iteration of this project. And so we would be providing you with those tools, everything from the ask to the restaurant, coordinating with them, a pay scale. Many folks are pretty comfortable with what was being offered, and they certainly appreciated the business. So all of that information would be provided to you. There was another question about performance metrics and being funded based on performance. If this is the only way that we are going to be gauging how to fund hubs beyond that particular report. We're still in the design phase of that particular report. And I think it would be important to take into consideration not just the performance, but some of the qualitative responses that we are hoping to glean from our hub partners and program partners to make that ultimate decision. But we did want to just make sure that we were setting out that expectation in the MOA so folks were aware.
I also want to add that the intent behind that is not punitive. It is not to harm your communities. It's to ensure that we are maximizing the limited resource that we have made available to us right now. So what we saw in the first iteration is that there were some communities who anticipated being able to serve much more folks than actually showed up at their hub. And then other communities who had anticipated not so much community need, realizing in the execution of their project that there was a lot more community need. And so we want to be able to ensure that we have a means to be flexible to respond to that and not have folks get stuck in, this is my money and I'm going to figure out a way to spend it in my community, because that is not the intent. Our intent is to build resilience across Hawaii Island. And we want to make sure that we are making smart decisions along the way to be able to be flexible and responsive to where the greatest need is. So I hope that makes sense.
Thanks, Jan. Any other questions? Please don't be daunted. We believe in each and every one of you and know that you have so much community genius and that you are going to bring it home strong in your proposal packages. We are here and available to help you, to coach you, to advise you. So we look forward to having conversations with all of you over the course of the week and hope to see some of you guys in the open house Q&A on Wednesday.
The last piece, Ash, we are going to be putting the recording from today, the application package, all of that will be available by what time today?
I think by 2:30.
2:30.
Yeah.
And where on the website will folks access that?
There is a tab on our website. If you go to vibranthawaii.org/economy, there's a tab for Resilience Hubs. If you click on the Resilience Hubs tab, we'll have a tile with a bullet list to all the items that you can download.
Okay, so that'll be available at 2:30 today. There's some folks, you may walk away from this feeling like, you know what, maybe this is not for me. What I would encourage you to think about is who else in your community might be interested in this? Who else in your community might have a passion to step up and build their capacity in this way, to be a part of a leadership cohort, to be a part of serving community, to take an opportunity to try and test out something to bolster resilience and economic resilience within your community. If you're feeling like you're not the right one, please direct them to the website so that your community still has an opportunity to engage.
Okay, I still see a lot of fives rolling in. We are so excited that you are excited about this opportunity and continuing this resilience work. So we will make sure that all the information is loaded up onto the website by 2:30. We'll also send a follow-up email so you have the information in your email box. And again, if you need us, don't hesitate to reach out. We can be reached at the resilienchubs@vibranthawaii.org email. Thank you all for taking the time to connect today.
Thank you.
Thank you.